Hey guys, every time you go four-wheeling, do you have a bed full of all the things you need, but no good way to secure them? Well, at Victory 4x4, we have a solution for you. Introducing the Bedside Molle and Accessory panel for the Toyota Tundra. That is way more organized than a bed full of gear. Now I'm going to show you how to install it. Let's get at it. So once you open up the package, this is kind of everything you're going to see. You have the main Molle panel here. You have the front accessory panel. These two are going to bolt together. We have this lower bracket, which actually bolts into the bottom of the Molle panel, into the side of the bed, and stiffen everything up. You're also going to have your hardware pack with all the bolts you need, and then you're going to have 4 of these brackets. One thing that you're going to have is a Toyota factory bed rail system, because these are going to go inside and allow us to bolt this rack on. If you don't have a Toyota rail system, you can buy it. It's like $160. You can buy it on Amazon. You can buy it from your Toyota dealer. Or you can use electrical unistrut. There's some people that have some write-ups online about using that. You can buy that from like Lowe's or Home Depot. It's a pretty cost-effective way as well. But nonetheless, you're going to need a bed rail system in order to attach this, or you're going to have to get really creative to figure out how to mount the tops. But anyways, let's go ahead and get started installing this. So the first thing you're going to do, if you want to put a high lift jack on this, you're going to want to install this first. You're going to use the 7/16 bolt and a washer. You're going to use the 2 outside holes on the bottom of this Molle rack. This is where you decide if it's going on the passenger side or the driver's side and which way you're going to put this out. This rack I'm going to install on the passenger side, so I want the bolts to come out this way, being these 3 bolts in the Molle panel, so that goes towards the back. So then you use the 7/16 flange nut, and that guy's going to come down onto here. And we're going to tighten that up. And then there's 3 holes here for the high lift jack. You only need 2. And then we supply these 2 wing nuts, so when you put the high lift jack on here, you're going to be able to just slip these wing nuts on and tighten the high lift jack on. Okay, next we're going to bolt the accessory panel to the Molle panel. And the accessory panel is going to go either underneath or over the top. It doesn't really matter which way you go. Using these 3/4 inch long buttons, you're going to use 3 of these and 3 flange nuts. Okay, now using a 3/16 Allen, you're going to go ahead and tighten these guys up. And these we can tighten down for good because they will not be coming apart again. Then we're going to set this out of the way. We're going to work on the bed rail next. Okay, so first you're going to snap this little clip out of here, like that. If you already have anything in your bed rail, you're going to have to unbolt those so that we can fish our plates through. So using these little plates, we're going to put the carriage bolts like that, and then these are going to slide down your rail. And there's 4 of these, so we're going to go ahead and get them in the rail. Okay, so now that we have those, snap your clip back in there so you don't lose it. Okay, next we're going to grab the Molle panel and we're going to kind of locate these things on this rail. Okay, so now the position of this Molle panel, we can move it back and forth here. As you can see, we have some adjustability here. So okay, we have to mount the bottom end here so that we have some strength for this rack. So we're going to use these 2 little brackets here, and as you can see, this triangle shaped one overlaps the top of this one, and we're going to put a bolt in there facing down. Then we're going to put some nuts on the bottom. You'll notice that these are slotted. So I'll talk about that a little later in the video. It's so that we have some adjustability in this rack for different bed rail systems, so we have some adjustability. If you're just using the factory Toyota bed rail system, you're going to want it closed completely like that. And we'll go ahead and use that 3/16 Allen and snug this guy up. Now we're going to fish it underneath here, behind here. As you can see, there's some locations right here to bolt it through. All right, so now we're going to leave those loose, but we're going to snug them up just a little bit. Nothing crazy, just enough to kind of hold everything in place. Okay, so now you're going to see what we're working with here. You can see how much the rack moves around without this lower mount. Even when it's tight, it's still going to move a lot. So we're actually going to drill 2 holes here into the bed, and then we're going to access that from below. Okay, so this is where you're going to want to determine forward and backwards where you want this rack before we drill these holes. I'm going to pull this forward. I like to leave a couple fingers space between here. Check your clearance up front, make sure you're not hitting anything. We're all good. So now what we're going to do is we're going to drill these 2 holes that we're going to access from underneath to get to the nut. 5/16 drill bit, you see we have these tie down points, but we conveniently put it right here where we have to drill. There's 2, a top and a bottom hole. So 5/16 bit, you don't need a super long drill bit like this one, but this is what I could find, so I'm going to use it. And we're just going to and then just make sure your rack doesn't move in between drilling holes. And we got that drilled. So we're going to use 2 more of these 3/4 inch long buttons. And you're going to need a friend to go underneath the truck to put these on. But I'm going to go ahead and get them started here. And I've got Cameron poking around underneath down there. He's going to get me started. Okay, so now we have the bottom tight on there. We need to tighten all of these up here. Okay, so as you can see, we're using the washers, 5/16 washers and the flange head nuts across this top rail. Okay, so as you can see, we have a factory Toyota bed rail system in here. A couple of things. If you're running a factory Toyota tonneau cover, or maybe some of the other aftermarket tonneau covers where they actually relocate the rail lower, we've built in for that. So what'll happen is the tonneau cover will have its own mount that'll mount into where this rail is, and the rail will be moved down 1 inch. So what we have going on here, in this thing we have adjustability, which I showed you earlier, which will allow this thing to come out. Because as the tonneau cover comes out, it's going to space it out 1/2 inch. So what we do is we basically have a system in place that allows this thing to move out and down. Then you can run that. Secondly, depending on the tonneau cover type you have, it's going to clamp in here onto the Toyota bed rail system. Those mounts should be movable, so you should be able to move them around all the other mounts. And then lastly, if you have a bed rack, you're going to have to be you're going to be a little creative with your bed racks. Our bed rack system will work with our Molle panel. The thing is that when you have aftermarket, other companies bed racks, they didn't take into account our designing of this Molle panel. So depending on where your bed rack mounts come down, you may have to either put these over or under the bed rack mounts. If the bed rack mount is like here and it's hanging down over here, you may have to space our Molle panel out with some washers to allow your mount on your bed rack to go behind the Molle panel. So those are 2 things that I get a lot of questions about, and those are your solutions. Okay, so now you have all this opportunity to put all of your gear on here. And there's a few different things you can do to maximize your space usage. One is a quick fist mount. If you haven't heard of these, they're just a rubber mount. They clamp around whether it's a shovel or an axe or a flashlight, and then you just quickly clench them tight. They come with, they don't come with the hardware, so you have to drill them out to use larger ones. They show you instructions with the quick fist. As you can see, I've already put a bolt in here, and all you're going to do is figure out where the height you want it, and you're going to bolt this in. Okay, so you can see I put 2 quick mounts in here. So I wanted to just show you how this works. You take your axe, it goes right in here, like so, and like so, and then you just clench it tight. and now your axe is secured on our Molle panel. Okay, so the other thing is we have an 1.25 inch wide slot that allows you to put on Molle bags like these. These are tactical bags. This one's a first aid kit, so you can put like all your first aid gear in here, or if you get different colored ones, black ones, you could put whatever it is you want to put in here. You'll notice that they have straps on the back. The good ones usually have buttons. Some of the cheaper ones will have buckles, which will be a little more difficult. So all you're going to do is you're just going to feed the bag through the panel. One more time. Take the bag, you're going to feed it through the panel like so, and snap it. And now you can see your bag is on here. You can buy these things on Amazon as well as like the Quick Fist. You can buy those on Amazon as well. What you're going to have to do is you're going to want to lay out all your gear and kind of figure out where stuff's going to fit. The first thing to always put in is going to be the high lift jack, because its designated spot is stuck. You're going to have to put it there if that's where you want it. From there, you'll be able to build around it. What I recommend doing is like your axe and your shovels and stuff, mounting them up there on top of the high lift jack so that it leaves this Molle panel free for you to put bags on here or other small things. If you have like a hatchet or a flashlight, things you want to access quickly, a toe strap, that kind of stuff. So that wraps up the installation of the Bedside Molle and Accessory rack. As you can see, it's pretty versatile and it allows you to carry a lot of your gear and organize it really well. So anyways, I'm gonna get the rest of my gear loaded up, and I hope to see you guys on the trail.